This is the story of a Lombax named Ratchet and his robot friend Clank and the muscular, irresistibly handsome hero who helped them save the galaxy.
I have to admit, I'm not a follower, a huge fan of this game, and it's gonna be my first game.
That's perfect. It's a perfect starting point.
But I'm a huge fan of platforming games, action adventures, and colorful games, etc. So, you said that the movie is bringing the franchise to a new audience, and perhaps the game as well.
Yeah.
How are you changing the game specifically to cater for this new audience?
I wouldn't say we're changing it. I just think it's a really good introductory point. We haven't, I think we've always tried to make the games very accessible. So if you've never played one, it teaches you to play. The stories, maybe it's part of a continuation of a story, but it's always kind of we always try to catch you up a little bit. But I think in terms of this being alongside the movie and kind of retelling the very origin, so you're catching up, you get when Ratchet and Clank meet and you kind of get to understand their characters from the very beginning. I think that makes it a very good entry point for someone who maybe hasn't done it before. And there's been a lot of Ratchet and Clank games, so maybe it's a little intimidating. Like, I don't know, which one do I play first? Do I need to play them all? No, you don't need to play them all. You don't need to pick. Like, this is the origin story. It's with the movie. It's there's no crazy subtitle. Like, you can just pick this one up, and if you've never played before, it's a great place to start.
Mm-hmm. Lucky me.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
but you've tweaked both the controls and the content, so it's not just a remake of the first game. So what can we expect in terms of control tweaking and the the content fans may recall from the first game?
Sure. So the controls are completely if you played the first game and you played this one, you control completely differently. The first game you couldn't strafe. The gadgets the weapons were all just called gadgets, so it wasn't fully formed arsenal wise. You didn't get experience points. So things like that are just taken for granted in the Ratchet and Clank games now, as we've made them over the years, have been brought back to this game. So we had to kind of redesign all the combat and redesign the enemies and the encounter spaces and just do all that to make it work as a modern Ratchet and Clank game with the modernized controls, and it feels way better, because if you go back and play that PS2 game, especially if you've played other Ratchet games, it feels clunky. And now it just feels weird. So that's the first thing. And then, so say beyond just the structural changes, we have some brand new planets, brand new levels that tie in, and we have some that return but feel very different or have giant and expanded areas like Gaspar, where you get the jetpack. For instance, the jetpack wasn't in the original game. It was just recently in the most recent game, Into the Nexus, and that's something we really liked from that game, so we brought it over. We redid all the space battles, the ship flying battles, so every time you fly a ship, those are some new elements of the game. When you get to play as Clank, that's all completely new and redone. Mm-hmm. There's several new bosses, and the bosses are redesigned as well. Again, with the arsenal and everything, they play completely differently than they did. So all of those things kind of add up to lots of stuff that feels very different. Now you'll still visit some of those same planets, and you'll see a planet that you saw on the PS2, but it'll play differently, or it'll feel a little bit different. And some will feel more similar, and then some where you're gonna be like, "Oh, this is completely different and not at all like I remember it." So it should be for fans who, if you've never played it, it's just gonna be a great game. If you're a fan who played it, it'll be something where you'll get to spot differences and be like, "Oh, I remember this," but it kind of feels different, and so it shouldn't feel like you're retreading the same ground. It should feel like it's fresh and new.
Mm-hmm. So with all these new features, I can expect that the game lasts longer as well.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily longer than the original game, because it does. While there's some new planets, there's also some planets that are not in this game as well. So some of the planets from the original game were cut, and so it's definitely. It's a full-length Ratchet game, but it's definitely its own game too.
Okay, so now that you mentioned the arsenal and the weapons, do you think the weapons are the main hook or the main selling point for both the movie and the game? Like the crazy thing for the movie to make it different from other movies?
No, I think they are weapons are a core part of the franchise always, but I wouldn't call them the main hook. I think the main hook for the movie you know, like there's other movies that have done crazy weapons, and there's other games that do crazy weapons. I think what makes us special and makes Ratchet and Clank special is you have two great characters and great stories and a lot of heart and humor, and weapons are a part of that. And weapons are important in the movie and they're important in the game. But I think the biggest thing when we go out there and show this movie to people is like it's a great story about these characters that has, you know, a lot of heart and action and adventure, and not just, oh hey, we got a gun that turns enemies into sheep. Again, you're gonna see the sheep all over the marketing for the movie, but you know, it's a combination of a lot of things, not just it's a crazy weapon movie or a crazy weapon game. We've always tried to build, you know, great locations and great story and heart and humor into it, so that it's more than just the weapons, for sure.
The Oscars were awarded day before yesterday.
Yep.
Do you think we can see Ratchet and Clank movie next year, this time next year,
you know,
being awarded?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where I think it's a great movie, and I really hope so. I think, you know, I don't know what else is coming out this year and how many animated movies they'll nominate, and you know, I hear Zootopia is terrific, and I'm looking forward to seeing that from Disney here. And I think Pixar has I don't know if it's there's always so many movies, and there's so many established movie houses, and so we'll see what happens. You know, honestly, if it reaches that level where like they think it's great and the Academy wants the award, cool. For me, it's more important that our fans love it and it stays true to the franchise and they love it, and you know, new fans love it, and that it can introduce the thing. And if it gets awards, great. But if at the end of the day, if our fans love it, and if people that go see it and then maybe didn't know the franchise really enjoy it, that's a huge win, and that's what we were going for, not necessarily trying to win awards or anything like that.
And then perhaps we can expect a sequel with all the effort and the assets already done so far.
You know, you never know what'll happen in the future, but it's definitely, this is a time, you know, where our fans have always supported this franchise, and have their support is what has allowed us to keep making these games. And you know, so hopefully if they want more, they're going to go out and see this movie and buy this game, and they'll get out there and take their friends and family to see the movie too, because I think, you know, the more people that see the movie and the more people that buy the game, it just is, that's what allows us to do more in the future. So hopefully people get out there and do it.
Hopefully. Getting back to weapons, you mentioned the pixelizer.
Yep.
What can we expect in terms of crazy weapons, and as well as how the pixelizer works?
Yeah, so the pixelizer is a weapon we wanted to do in the PS3, but we just couldn't make it work because it was really resource intensive. It's actually really hard to turn an enemy into a flat 2D sprite and multiple enemies into 2D sprites and then have them explode in pixels. Like, it just uses a lot of system resources. So to do it right, we needed to wait until PS4 to make it happen. And so it does exactly that. You can pixelize any enemy, even the bosses. They turn into giant pixel versions of themselves, and some of the bigger enemies just explode in showers of, you know, pixel boxes, and it's really fun. The arsenal as a whole is from all the games. It's kind of brought together. We took our favorite weapons, so like the Groovatron is back, which makes all the enemies dance. That was actually kind of the pixelizer of the PS3 games. We always wanted to do the Groovatron on the PS2, but we couldn't figure out, or we didn't have the memory on PS2 to do dancing animations for every single enemy and have them all loaded in. So it's been one of those things where we always have these ideas, and sometimes it takes a little while for technology to catch up to it and let us actually do it.
I recently played Lucky's Tale on Oculus Rift. I experienced it for the first time. I didn't think the virtual reality could really add something to platforming, you know, action platformers.
Sure.
But I was shocked. I was really impressed by the, you know, how can you get through the environment and tackle on enemies, etc. Would you like to see Ratchet and Clank for PlayStation VR?
Oh man, I don't even know. It's funny because, you know, you talk about third person, you know, I don't think people thought third person could work in VR.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And we're making Edge of Nowhere, which is third person in VR.
Which was pretty scary, I have to
yeah,
say.
Right.
I tried that as well.
Yeah.
I tried that as well.
It's a lot of fun. I think VR lets you be present in places. So, you know, who knows? It could be really cool to visit the Ratchet and Clank universe in VR. it'd be interesting to try, wouldn't it? We haven't. It's not something we planned. We were planning on at this point, but you never know.
Okay, last one. So this is a genre I really love. Do you think this type of games, we don't see many of them lately? Do you think this game could perhaps invite other studios to try and do more, action platformers, colorful games, and for everyone?
I think it. I hope so. I hope people. I love different stuff. I like variety in my games. I don't want everything to be the same. We obviously feel like we love colorful, humorous, surprising games. We also like dark games. We're making Edge of Nowhere. We made Resistance, but I think it's fun for us to work on a variety of things. I think it's fun to have a variety of things out there. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see what people think when we put this game out, and if they support it, you never know. Maybe then more people will be like, oh, we should be making a game like that. But I think that's always been something where we were always trying to make games that maybe would surprise people and would be something that everyone could play, because there's a lot of games that are made for adults, and it's definitely fun to make a game that's something that adults are going to love this game, but kids are going to love it too. And it's something that whether you're 45 or 14 or 8, you can 10. It's E10 plus, so I'll say 10. I guess it's here. It's what, 7 plus here?
Yes.
Probably.
Okay, so 7. I can say 7.
7, yeah.
So if you're 7 years old or you're 45 years old, you'll hopefully enjoy playing this game, and I think that's an exciting place for us to be in making something that can appeal to everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck with both the movie and the game.
No, thank you so much. Thanks for coming by today.
Thank you.